Oh, okay. Now I'm recording. Okay. Uh, New phone, new recording app. Anyways, this is a very impromptu video. I didn't think I would be making this, but here we are. So I just got out of it, and I have a lot of thoughts on them, and they're all too long to string out in a series of tweets without it being obnoxious, and I don't care about Facebook, so video time, even though I'm not. This is a podcast before it's anything else. Okay, so it is probably my least favorite Stephen King novel. I think it's slow. I think it's kind of plotting. The part where they all have to have sex with, they don't have to have sex, but they all have sex with the girl. Like, I get the metaphor you're doing. They've all been forced into adulthood without having a full grasp of what that means. And so it's a sex scene with minors in Stephen King level detail. I just don't need that in my life. And as for the miniseries, that thing is not good. That thing's a horror that is comedic before it is scary. The interesting thing about that is it is about childhood trauma. And the only people who think the miniseries is scary are people who grew up with it as kids. So there's definitely something interesting there, right? So this is all just laying the groundwork for Stephen King. Least favorite Stephen King property is It. But I really liked this movie. And I think it's one of the best Stephen King adaptations, in that there's this very common misconception with Stephen King that, like, Family Guy does the bit where Stephen King's like, and then they're attacked by a monster lamb. You're not even trying anymore, are you? But, like, the thing about Stephen King is Stephen King will write a monster under the bed story, but he's not writing about the monster. He's writing about the people on top of the bed. And that's Stephen King. He's a human horror writer. And that's the thing about this movie. It's not scary. And most Stephen King books are actually scary. But this movie isn't scary, and I don't give a shit about Pennywise. But I care about all of these people. Like Richie, Tommy, Mike, Andy. These are all names I remember now, and characters I really liked and cared for and understood. And not all of them get arcs, but most of them get arcs and things to do. And it's just like, I think this is a really spooky kids movie. And there are, like, really tense scenes that I'm uncomfortable with, but it's all just human stuff, not any of the supernatural, spooky stuff I didn't care about. So it's this really mixed bag where it's not scary, but, like, I care about everything that is happening, and I enjoy this drama and these characters and the events unfolding. And this is honestly a movie I might show to my kids. Like, it's got some horror, but, like, this is a really good, like, teen kids movie, and we don't make those anymore. Because, like, the problem these kids are facing in terms of, like, adolescence and confusion and your place in the world and who you are, these are all problems that are timeless, but it's wrapped in an 80s blanket in the best way. And, like, I have this huge complaint with, like, Ready Player One or Stranger Things, where I don't make kids movies for kids, we make kids movies for adults, being like, do you remember how awesome it was being a kid in the 80s? And, like, this movie, even though it was, like, an 80s kids movie, I related and could empathize and feel with these kids, and it wasn't just remember how awesome your childhood was, which is a huge problem about creating a more stagnant culture, more obsessed and romanticizing the past isn't going to want to move forward. That's a whole nother rant for another time. But yeah, I really like this movie, and it's not scary, and I kind of think that's the point, because I am so with these characters and in their heads, and the horror is tailor-made for them. I fully understand why this situation is scary to them, but not to me, and I think that's really interesting. But if I had an ultimate thesis, it is a horror movie that is more interested in being a human story than a horror story. And that's the most Stephen King thing I've ever heard. I recommend it. I'm buying this movie on Blu-ray. I want the making of featurette.